Ladies and gentlemen, the most powerful way to defeat your enemies is not by fighting them, but by making them irrelevant. We often think of conflict as something loud, aggressive, and full of confrontation. But true power doesn't always come from the loudest voice in the room. In fact, the most effective way to take down your enemies isn't through direct combat, it's through quiet, strategic moves that leave them powerless. True power isn't about aggression or loud declarations of dominance. It's about mastering yourself so completely that your presence alone commands respect. The first silent but deadly way to take down your enemies isn't about confrontation. It's about becoming so disciplined that they have no way to break you. Self-mastery is the ultimate weapon. When you truly master yourself, you eliminate every weak point your enemies could exploit. They rely on your impulsiveness, your insecurities, and your inability to control your emotions. The moment you let anger, jealousy, or fear dictate your actions, you've already lost. But when you develop the discipline to control your reactions, your enemies lose their ability to manipulate you. They thrive on provoking you. But what happens when you refuse to react? They become powerless. Self-mastery begins with understanding what triggers you. Every time someone provokes you, it reveals a part of you that still lacks control. If someone's words make you angry, ask yourself why. If someone's success makes you feel inferior, look inward and identify the insecurity being exposed. Instead of reacting outwardly, work on strengthening those weak points. The more you understand yourself, the less control others will have over you. Discipline in thought, emotion, and action is what separates those who lead from those who follow. Most people move through life reacting to everything that happens to them, constantly at the mercy of external forces. But when you train yourself to pause, reflect, and choose your response, you gain an advantage that few possess. Your enemies will expect emotional outbursts, rash decisions, and predictable behavior. But if you remain calm in the face of provocation, you rob them of the satisfaction they seek. You frustrate them, confuse them, and ultimately weaken them. Another crucial aspect of self-mastery is controlling your words. Silence is a weapon. The more you talk, the more information you give away. Your enemies listen closely, looking for vulnerabilities, fears, and weaknesses. But when you speak with intention, saying only what needs to be said, you maintain control. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them guess your next move. The less predictable you are, the more dangerous you become. Your habits also define your strength. Waking up early, exercising discipline in your routine, and staying consistent in your work build a foundation that no external force can shake. Most people crumble under pressure because they never built resilience in the small, daily disciplines. They lack the mental toughness to endure challenges, so they fold when things get difficult. But when you've trained yourself to embrace discomfort, push through fatigue, and stay focused despite distractions, you become unstoppable. Your enemies will wait for you to break, but they will wait in vain. Patience is another silent but deadly force. People who seek power want immediate results, but true strength comes from playing the long game. When you develop the patience to outlast your enemies, they make mistakes trying to rush the process. They grow reckless, exposing their weaknesses, while you remain steady, observing, waiting, and striking only when the moment is right. Understanding your enemy isn't about obsession. It's about awareness. Too often, people engage in conflicts without truly understanding the other side. They react emotionally, make assumptions, and base their decisions on surface-level observations. But real power lies in knowing your adversary deeply, recognizing their strengths, weaknesses, patterns, and motivations. It's not about hatred or revenge. It's about strategy and self-preservation. The most dangerous opponent isn't the one who attacks impulsively. It's the one who knows when to strike, how to adapt, and where to apply pressure. That kind of precision only comes from careful observation. Every enemy, no matter how intimidating, has vulnerabilities. Some people are ruled by their pride, making them easy to manipulate. Others are emotionally reactive, making them predictable in times of stress. Some operate under a mask of confidence, but internally battle insecurities that can be subtly exposed. The mistake most people make is assuming they already know their enemy. They assume their own perception is reality, but perception is often flawed by personal bias. The real work is in watching and listening not just to what is being said, but to what is left unsaid. How does your enemy respond under pressure? What drives them forward? What are they afraid of? How do they handle loss? When you start to notice these patterns, you stop reacting to their attacks and start controlling the battlefield. Patience is a critical component. It's tempting to respond immediately when you feel wronged or threatened, but an impulsive reaction only serves the other side. Silence becomes a weapon. The less you reveal, the more your enemy wonders. People fear the unknown more than anything. And when they can't predict your next move, they start making mistakes. Meanwhile, you are gathering information, recognizing their habits, and waiting for the perfect moment to act. Not out of revenge, but with precision and intent. There's also a psychological element to understanding your enemy. The more you study them, the more you start seeing them as human rather than as an invincible force. Fear starts to dissolve when you realize they too have blind spots, weaknesses, and inconsistencies. Many people build their enemies up in their minds, giving them too much power simply because they don't take the time to examine them closely. Another layer to this is the art of detachment. You can't truly understand someone if you are emotionally entangled with them. This means removing personal feelings from the equation and seeing them objectively. The more neutral you become, the more control you gain. This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions so they don't cloud your judgment. Your ability to remain calm while studying someone else's chaos is a quiet but lethal advantage. True power doesn't come from loud displays of dominance, but from subtle mastery of understanding. Those who take the time to observe and analyze will always hold the upper hand over those who act purely out of impulse. Silence has a power that many underestimate. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary arguments or let negative energy pull you down, you take control in ways that are both strategic and deeply personal. The strongest individuals are not the ones who react impulsively, but the ones who choose when, where, and how to respond. Mastering the art of silence allows you to disarm those who seek to provoke you without even lifting a finger. When someone tries to bring you down, their power lies in your reaction. If you lash out, defend yourself excessively, or respond emotionally, you give them exactly what they seek: control over your emotions. But when you stay silent, observing rather than engaging, you create an uncomfortable void. That void forces the other person to sit with their own words, their own actions, and the reality of who they are without your validation or resistance. This psychological advantage shifts the dynamic entirely. Silence is not about passivity, it is about calculated action. There is a difference between avoiding confrontation and strategically withholding your energy. When you choose not to argue with someone whose intention is to get a rise out of you, you communicate something far more powerful than words ever could, that their influence over you is non-existent. This quiet confidence is often unsettling to those who thrive on conflict. It leaves them questioning themselves instead of feeling victorious. Beyond personal interaction, silence can be used as a tool for observing, learning, and gathering information. People who speak too much often reveal their weaknesses, their insecurities, and their true motives. But when you listen more than you speak, you gather valuable insight. You learn about people's fears, their patterns, and the way they think. This gives you a significant upper hand because you are prepared while they remain oblivious to your awareness. In professional settings, silence is a form of negotiation. The person who speaks first in a high-stakes situation often loses. When you hold back your words, you force others to fill the space, often leading them to reveal more than they intended. This can be used to your advantage in business, leadership, and even in resolving conflicts. The ability to remain silent when others expect you to react can make you appear stronger, more composed, and in control of any situation. Socially, silence can dismantle manipulation. When someone spreads negativity about you, responding gives them credibility. It validates their attempt to drag you into a battle that benefits them. But when you stay quiet, their words lose power. Gossip thrives on attention, and when there is none, it withers. People who are truly powerful do not need to prove themselves. They let their actions speak, and their silence sends a louder message than any rebuttal ever could. Mastering silence is about discipline. It is about knowing when to speak and when to let things unfold without interference. It is about choosing battles wisely, protecting your energy, and ensuring that those who seek to disrupt your peace never get the reaction they crave. Mastering emotional intelligence allows you to disarm your enemies without ever engaging in conflict. When you understand their motivations, fears, and triggers, you gain the ability to predict their actions and respond in ways that leave them powerless. Instead of reacting with anger or aggression, you navigate interactions with clarity, confidence, and control. Emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful tools you can develop in dealing with adversaries because it allows you to see beyond surface-level interactions. People who operate from a place of fear, insecurity, or power hunger often expect hostility in return. They anticipate pushback, they brace themselves for a fight, and they thrive in environments of chaos and confrontation. But when you refuse to give them the expected reaction, when you stay grounded and emotionally aware, you strip them of their power over you. Understanding emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. The more you understand your own triggers, the less susceptible you become to manipulation. Your enemies will try to provoke you, to force you into a reaction that benefits them. But when you remain aware of how you're feeling and why, you reclaim control over your responses. You make decisions from a place of strength rather than impulse. You learn to pause, assess, and respond in ways that serve you rather than giving them the satisfaction of knowing they've rattled you. Beyond self-awareness, emotional intelligence also involves recognizing the emotions of others. When you can read the frustration, insecurity, or desperation behind someone's actions, you stop taking things personally, you start seeing patterns, you start predicting behaviors, and most importantly, you start influencing outcomes. When an enemy lashes out in anger, it often has little to do with you and everything to do with what they're feeling inside. The ability to recognize this allows you to shift the dynamic. Instead of feeding their energy, you redirect it. Instead of reacting defensively, you respond strategically. A key part of this strategy is empathy. Not in the sense of becoming emotionally vulnerable to your enemies, but in the sense of understanding what drives them. When you can identify their fears, their insecurities, and their deepest needs, you hold the keys to their behavior. Some people fear irrelevance. Others fear failure. And many fear being exposed for who they really are. When you subtly reinforce these fears without direct confrontation, you weaken their ability to control the situation. Another silent but deadly technique is maintaining composure in moments of tension. Nothing disarms an enemy faster than unwavering calm. When they throw insults, you stay neutral. When they try to pressure you into making a mistake, you remain steady. The more they push, the more they reveal their own lack of control. And in the moments when they expect you to fight back, your restraint becomes a weapon they never saw coming. Emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It's about leading with strategy instead of reaction. It's about controlling the battlefield without ever stepping foot into the fight. Pain is a powerful force. It can consume you, turning into bitterness, anger, and a desire for revenge. But there's another way. Instead of letting pain harden you, use it to build something better. Yourself. Growth is the greatest response to adversity, and true strength comes from rising above, not from striking back. When someone wrongs you, the instinct to retaliate is natural. It's a way to reclaim control, to prove that you will not be stepped on. But retaliation keeps you locked in a cycle of negativity. It keeps your focus on them rather than on your own potential. True power is not found in destruction, but in transformation. The best way to win against those who hurt you is not to destroy them. It's to become so strong, so fulfilled that they no longer have any control over your thoughts or emotions. Think about the people who have wronged you. What if, instead of focusing on them, you poured all that energy into bettering yourself? Every great success story is built on resilience. Some of the most powerful people in history have turned their deepest wounds into their greatest strengths. They refuse to be defined by their enemies. They refuse to be controlled by bitterness. Resilience is a silent weapon. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply grows steadily and powerfully until the person you once were, angry, vengeful, small, no longer exists. Instead, you become someone untouchable. You build a life so rich, so full of meaning, that those who tried to break you become irrelevant. They fade into the background while you rise. It's not about ignoring the pain. Acknowledge it. Sit with it. Feel it. But don't let it make you someone you're not. Use it as fuel. Let it push you to be wiser, more disciplined, more focused, Let it sharpen your vision and deepen your empathy. Let it teach you what kind of person you refuse to be. Imagine looking back a year from now. Will you be proud of how you responded to this pain? Will you be stronger, more successful, more at peace? Or will you still be carrying the weight of someone else's wrongdoing? The choice is yours. Growth or revenge, expansion or stagnation. Strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. The moment you shift your energy away from those who wronged you and toward your own transformation, you take away their power. You reclaim your story. You take what was meant to break you and use it to build something unshakable. Success is the quietest and most undeniable form of revenge. When you rise, when you thrive, when you become everything they said you couldn't be, that's when you win. Not with words, not with retaliation, but with undeniable, unstoppable growth. Negativity is a powerful force. When people try to bring you down with criticism, doubt, or even outright hostility, it's easy to absorb that energy and let it weigh you down. But the real power lies in transmuting that negativity into something that fuels your growth. The moment you stop letting their words define you and instead use them as stepping stones to push yourself further, you take control. Every negative comment, every moment of doubt cast upon you is an opportunity to grow. Instead of reacting emotionally to what people say about you, study their words like data. Is there a pattern in their criticism? Is there something that keeps coming up? Not everything people say is true, but sometimes hidden within their negativity, there is a lesson. Learning to extract value from their doubt is a skill that will set you apart. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive reframing, which is the ability to shift how you see a situation. If someone calls you incapable, instead of internalizing it, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe it's a sign you need to sharpen your skills, or perhaps it's a reflection of their insecurities being projected onto you. When you master this, you no longer react with anger or hurt. You respond with growth. Some of the most successful people in history were shaped by doubt. When Thomas Edison was told he would never be an inventor, he didn't fight back with words, he fought back with innovation. When Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television, she didn't argue. She built an empire. They understood that the negativity thrown at them was never about them. It was about the limitations others had imposed on themselves. One of the best ways to turn negativity into strength is by keeping a record of every doubt cast upon you and using it as motivation. Write down the most discouraging things people have said to you. Look at those words and remind yourself that their opinions are not facts. Then make it your mission to prove them wrong, not through arguments, but through results. Another powerful tool is emotional detachment. When you learn not to take negativity personally, you remove the power it has over you. This doesn't mean you ignore everything. It means you choose which feedback is constructive and which is simply noise. The moment you realize that someone's negativity is a reflection of their inner struggles, not your reality, you take away their control over your emotions. Lastly, use negativity as a way to build resilience. Every time you face resistance, you are strengthening your ability to push forward. Those who succeed in life are not the ones who never experience negativity. They are the ones who refuse to be defined by it. The more you train yourself to see doubt as fuel, the less you will be affected by it. Instead of feeling defeated, you will feel challenged. Instead of stopping, you will move forward with even more determination. The power of patience is underestimated in a world that glorifies instant gratification. There is a certain strength in remaining composed when everything around you is chaotic. Patience is not passive. It is a quiet form of control that allows you to move with intention rather than reaction. When dealing with adversaries, whether in a professional setting, a competitive environment, or even personal conflicts, patience is what separates those who act on impulse from those who act with precision. Silence, when paired with patience, becomes a strategy. Those who rush into action often make mistakes, reveal their weaknesses, and give away their position. But the one who waits, observes, and learns before making a move will always have the advantage. This does not mean suppressing emotions or avoiding conflict, but rather choosing the right moment to act. Timing is everything. A well-timed response carries far more weight than an impulsive reaction. Patience allows you to gather information while others reveal their intentions. Your enemy may try to provoke you, push your buttons, or manipulate you into making a wrong move. But by exercising patience, you force them to expose their tactics before you make yours. They may assume you are indifferent, unaware, or even weak, but in reality, you are simply waiting for the right moment. People tend to underestimate those who do not react immediately. This is where patience becomes a weapon, allowing you to surprise them when they least expect it. In professional environments, patience is the difference between making an emotional decision and a strategic one. If someone tries to undermine you, it is tempting to respond immediately out of frustration or anger. But by waiting, you allow the situation to unfold, giving yourself the opportunity to see the bigger picture. A rushed reaction can create unnecessary damage, while a measured response can turn the tide in your favor. People who master patience do not just survive challenges, they navigate them with clarity and precision. Patience also builds resilience. In the face of opposition, those who remain steady and focused endure longer than those who burn out quickly. Your adversaries may use aggression, manipulation, or deception, but if you do not react the way they expect, they lose their advantage. They will become frustrated when their tactics fail to shake you. They will question their own approach, weakening their confidence in the process. When you choose patience over retaliation, you remain in control of yourself and the situation. Patience is also a tool for self-mastery. It teaches discipline, emotional intelligence, and the ability to operate from a place of strength rather than insecurity. The strongest individuals are not those who react to every challenge, but those who choose their battles wisely. The ability to endure, to wait for the right opportunity, and to strike with purpose rather than impulse is a skill few possess. When used effectively, patience becomes a silent force that can dismantle even the most aggressive opposition without you ever having to raise your voice. In every interaction, there's an invisible force at play: emotion. It fuels conflicts, blinds people with anger, and pushes them to make mistakes they later regret. But what if you could harness that force instead of being controlled by it? Emotional intelligence is the silent weapon that allows you to navigate challenges with precision, turning tension into an advantage and unpredictability into a tool. Understanding emotions, both your own and those of others, gives you control over any situation. When someone tries to provoke you, they expect a reaction. They expect frustration, retaliation, or defensiveness. But when you respond with calm, with composure, you disarm them. The most dangerous move you can make against an enemy is to remain unshaken when they are trying their hardest to shake you. It puts them in a position of weakness where their emotions betray them, making them reckless, while you stay in control. People who lack emotional intelligence operate on impulse. They take everything personally, reacting rather than responding. They enter battles they could have avoided, waste energy on fights that don't serve them, and expose their vulnerabilities without realizing it. But those who master emotional intelligence understand that power comes from restraint, from knowing when to engage and when to step back. Silence, patience, and observation become their greatest allies. The less you reveal, the more you force others to question, doubt, and second-guess their actions. Another critical element is empathy, not as a weakness, but as a strategy. When you understand your enemy, you understand what motivates them, what triggers them, what they fear, and what they desire. This allows you to predict their next move before they make it. It allows you to navigate conversations and conflicts in a way that benefits you while making them feel like they are in control. It's the art of subtle influence, letting people believe they are winning while leading them exactly where you want them to go. Emotional intelligence also teaches you the power of detachment. The ability to remove yourself from a situation emotionally gives you an upper hand. It allows you to look at conflicts objectively, to analyze without bias, and to make decisions based on logic rather than reaction. This is how you maintain clarity, even in the most intense moments. It's how you avoid falling into traps set by those who want to see you fail. It's how you outmaneuver those who rely on drama, aggression, and intimidation. The battlefield is not always physical. More often than not, it is psychological. It plays out in negotiations, in conversations, in power struggles that happen in the workplace, in business, in leadership, and even in personal relationships. And in this battlefield, the one who controls their emotions controls the outcome. They remain steady while others crumble under pressure. They watch as their enemies exhaust themselves, making moves out of desperation while they wait for the right moment to strike. This is not about manipulation. It's about mastery. Mastery over yourself, mastery over emotions, and mastery over the unseen forces that dictate human behavior. Those who develop emotional intelligence do not need to fight loudly, aggressively, or impulsively. They win before the battle even begins. When you control your emotions, you control the room. People who react impulsively give their enemies power, but those who remain calm under pressure shift the dynamic in their favor. Emotional discipline is a silent weapon that makes you unpredictable and unshakable, leaving your enemies powerless in their attempts to manipulate you. Self-regulation is the key to emotional mastery, and emotional mastery is the foundation of true power. When faced with adversity, the instinctive response is to react, defend, or attack. But the strongest individuals are those who pause, assess, and respond with intention. Every time you allow someone to trigger you, you hand them control over your actions, your mood, and ultimately your decisions. The ability to regulate your emotions in real time is not just about maintaining composure, it is about strategic dominance. Consider a scenario where someone is attempting to provoke you. They insult you, challenge your competence, or spread false narratives about you. A reactive person will immediately respond with defensiveness, anger, or an attempt to clear their name. But a person who has mastered self-regulation remains steady, unbothered, and observant. This disarms the aggressor. They are expecting resistance, but instead they are met with silence, a calm demeanor, or a measured response. This is psychological warfare at its finest because it frustrates those who seek to control you through emotional manipulation. The greatest leaders, negotiators, and visionaries possess an uncanny ability to remain poised in the face of chaos. This isn't an accident. It's a practiced skill. Self-regulation allows you to listen more than you speak, to think before you react, and to analyze before you act. It gives you an advantage in any power dynamic because it forces the other person to reveal more while you maintain control over what you choose to show. The silence of an emotionally disciplined person is louder than the noise of an impulsive one. When you do not give away your feelings easily, people cannot predict your next move. This unpredictability makes you powerful. If you are quick to anger, quick to frustration, or quick to defend, then you are easily manipulated. But if you maintain control over your emotional responses, you become a force that cannot be easily swayed. Developing self-regulation requires awareness and practice. It starts with recognizing your emotional triggers and understanding the patterns of your reactions. It requires mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment without letting external circumstances dictate your internal state. It involves emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and manage not just your own emotions, but also the emotions of those around you. When you master these skills, you become untouchable in ways that are silent but powerful. In a world that rewards reactivity, self-regulation is a revolutionary act. It allows you to see situations clearly, make decisions from a place of power, and protect yourself from those who seek to destabilize you. True strength is not found in how loudly you respond, but in how effortlessly you maintain control over your inner world. Those who master this art do not need to announce their power. It is felt. When you stop viewing someone as an enemy, they lose their power over you. This isn't about ignoring threats or pretending that conflicts don't exist. It's about a fundamental shift in how you allocate your energy. Every person who challenges you, disrespects you, or actively tries to harm your progress feeds off your reaction. They thrive on knowing they occupy space in your mind. The moment you stop giving them that privilege, they begin to lose relevance, not because they've changed, but because you have. The mind is wired for conflict resolution. When faced with opposition, our first instinct is often to engage, to argue, defend, or even attack. But in doing so, we validate the opposition's importance. What if, instead, you redirected that same energy toward your own development? Imagine pouring that focus into your craft, your health, your financial independence, your relationships, or your peace of mind. Over time, the very presence of your so-called enemies starts to fade into the background. They no longer dictate your emotions, decisions, or sense of self-worth. Your most dangerous weapon isn't revenge, it's elevation. When you rise above the level where your enemies operate, they become spectators rather than participants in your life. They watch, but they no longer influence. They speak, but their words carry no weight. They plot, but their efforts are rendered useless against someone who no longer sees